Welcome to our new Transeurotrail video. This map shows the route of our 2 weeks TET Romania trip in September 2023. Since there's a lot of content, we have split it into 2 parts. This is part 1 and contains the route between Petea at the northwestern border and Brasov. We're going to show you some difficult sections, extremely nice parts, interesting weather conditions you might encounter in that time of the year, and treks that were forbidden, including alternative routes. So let's get started. The first 110 kilometers from the border are section 1 of the Romanian TET, and it's entirely tarmac. Off-road begins in Valea Hotarului and it gets challenging right away, so it's time to reduce the tire pressure. In this place we had our first serious encounter with herding dogs. The TET trek must be a few years old and suddenly ends here on a meadow. While I was on foot trying to find my way, suddenly 5 of those enormous creatures came rushing towards me, and I can tell you, it was not a pleasant encounter. We had been warned about the Eastern European herding dogs before. However, until that point, we had never encountered any serious issues with dogs anywhere in the world, and we hadn't really given it much thought. We had 2 large dogs of our own, so we were familiar with dogs and this was a serious matter, so it was time for a little precaution. The herding dogs here are massive and their task is to protect the herd from the wolves and bears. Accordingly, they may defend their territory very aggressively. We had received the advice to simply drive away at full speed, but the terrain often doesn't allow for faster driving than the dogs can run. And if you happen to fall while being chased by angry herding dogs, you've got a real problem. So sometimes you have to stop and wait. Usually the dogs stop a short distance away and just bark at you. Most of the time the shepherd is also nearby and can defuse the situation. In rare cases though, it can go differently and that's when you're glad to have a backup plan. We equipped ourselves with 2 massive wooden clubs. We secured them at the back of our duffel bags and in case of emergency we can easily pull them out. So here you can see Hannes in action. Made from wonderfully compact Carpathian cherry wood and he works wonders. We had several close calls on that trip, but fortunately, simply threatening with a club was always enough. You certainly don't want to get into a real fight, but when push comes to shove, you definitely don't want to be empty-handed. Was hast du da oben gemacht?
Ich habe unseren Müll versteckt,
Weil?
damit der Jörg nicht gefressen wird, unsere Ziege.
Ah, von wem?
Vom Bären, weil wir Cevapcici gegessen haben und es sehr gut riechen, habe ich gedacht, lieber bringe ich es weg, damit der Jörg safe ist heute Nacht.
Ja, dann kommst du wieder runter, würde ich sagen.
Ich gehe wieder runter. Mal schauen.
Gute Nacht.
Around 8 kilometers before the Northern Dragon section, that is supposed to be one of the harder parts of the Romanian TET, the track became completely washed out, full of big rocks and quite steep.
This does look quite serious now. Some water running down there, it's completely washed out. I guess the track goes a little bit to the left, but it's quite steep. Too difficult.
After we had carefully assessed the situation and were uncertain about the track condition for the next few kilometers, we decided to bypass this part. The risk of damaging the motorcycle was just too high for us. A few kilometers after Borsa, the TET leaves the main road again, leading into the mountains. Unfortunately, we found ourselves in front of a prohibition sign with the threat of severe penalties. So we had to return to the main road and followed the green colored track to skip this section too. If you look for some nice off-roading, this section is pretty cool. In addition to a beautiful landscape, the road surface has fantastic grip, making it a lot of fun to zip along the small road. A bit further south we faced another no entry sign, so we had to take the green colored detour a bit east of it.
Was macht dein Auge? Und was machst du? Heiliges Wasser saufen.
Ja.
Ist gut. Well, the weather forecast is sunshine, so let's hope this is going to be true.
Otherwise we have to hide in the tent and hope that there is no lightning going into the tent. After a few days of sunshine, finally some rain. I'm
You're
so
very
happy.
happy.
So happy. It doesn't look too bad.
It's raining.
It's just raining where we are.
Pestilent show dead, sold out with loyal shipmates to save the sorry head. In the sunken arm of riders, and I watch a crewman drown, and I shot the mate who Hobson in the back in Kingston town.
Between these two markers is another no-entry road. A detour here would have taken a lot of time though. We weren't sure what to do when a car with two young men arrived. They told us that it was okay to ignore the no-entry sign. Said and done, we continued riding only to be stopped by a ranger a few kilometers later. Fortunately, the two young men were able to explain the situation. Everything was fine and we were allowed to pass. There's a no-entry sign on both sides of this section by the way, and a high chance to get stopped. So better make sure that you can explain yourselves when taking this route. Not far before Brasov is the next no-entry sign. However, this one only existed when coming from the south. We haven't seen one coming down this road.
Da hole ich mir ein heiliges Wasserle. Ich spür's schon. Da oben ist er, der Kringel.